We now have James Stubbemann with us. It's correct, Jans?
It's Jannis, yes.
Janis, sorry, Janis.
No worries, no worries. It's a German name. Cool, thank you. Yeah, hi everyone. I think I can say good morning, right? For most of you. For me, it's in the afternoon. I'm here in Paris right now in Europe. And yeah, let me bring up.
Can you can you let me introduce you?
Oh, sorry. Yes.
No, so it's okay. Jans Stubbemann is CEO and co-founder of Aqora, the central quantum computing hub. Aqora brings the ecosystem together through online competitions and hackathons, curate datasets and benchmarks. Jans advocates an evidence-first path for the file, prioritizing reproducibility, comparable metrics, and open collaborations with partners across academia and industry. Aqora powers challenge that translate research into measurable outcomes, while its datasets and benchmarking results help teams evaluate approaches on common ground. He shared with us the season from competition to jobs, building quantum portfolio. Starting from zero, this talk guides students through the first quantum challenge on Aqora, picking tasks, submitting reproducibility work, and using their profiles and leaderboards to signal experience to earn trust with employers. Thank you, Janice. Can proceed.
All right. Thank you so much for this introduction. I think you can now see my screen, right?
Yes, we can see.
Yeah, cool. Yes, right. As was said, so I'm Yannis, co-founder and CEO of Aqora, and everything that was said is true. We're building this quantum competitions hub. To say a few more words about it, we have started now 2 years ago in November 2023, actually. We have an origin of running in-person quantum computing hackathons. So that's what we've been doing already for a few more years. And with Aqora, we continue to keep the spirit of having a community-first approach to quantum computing. And we also kept the initial aspect of exploring quantum computing through these competitions, challenges, hackathons that you can participate in now online. And by now we have extended our hub and we will do so even more. So in the future, you will or now you can also explore data sets, what I will show you, and share them and use them for your research. Same will happen for algorithms and then also for hardware integrations. But today's focus is on these competitions and how you can build a kind of quantum portfolio, meaning that while you can take courses in academia, which I would recommend you doing on quantum computing, there is still a lack of what does it actually mean if you would take a job in industry that is not only doing the research, but only understanding what quantum computers could maybe today, or then at least in the future, do for real world use cases. That said, so I have only this one slide here, which just shows again the picture of me, which if you're following me on social media, you might have seen before. Also, actually, this is the link to my the link to my LinkedIn profile where I'm sharing all the news that are happening on Aqora, and feel free to follow me there. And then, in order to follow along this webinar slash workshop. This is the URL that I'll be opening now, because I'll switch from the slides actually to show my browser. And let's see. So if this works all out, you can still see my screen, right? And you see my window, right? Okay. Right. Yeah, I'm very happy to have this as interactive as possible. So I can keep myself an eye on the chat, or if someone could ping me. So really feel free to shoot your questions anytime, interrupt me, and happy to answer them as they come. So this is Aqora. As I was saying, this is our website. Actually, Aqora, the name comes from the Greek word for agora, meaning the place where people meet. That's really the center of it. Yeah, we want to have this hub where quantum innovation can happen. If you're following along, the interesting part is the platform. I mean, you can find a little bit more information about us on the website, but this is really where all the things are going on. And then you see we have now a variety of things on the platform in the menu. I will in these next few minutes walk through a few of them. But the most important, as an entry point, I would say, are basically the events section, where you can see different hackathons, in person and virtual. So to mention, at the moment, we are running this one with Quantinuum. Quantinuum, you might have been following the news this week, has just released their new Helios machine. Actually, to just do this quick advertisement, on Monday, they will give a webinar as part of the hackathon, which you can still join. It's virtually like this one, on their Nexus, which is basically their access to the quantum computer and simulators. And yeah, you see we are running these different kind of hackathons. So these are all publicly explorable. As we had the one with Continuum, I think the Global Industry Challenge that we were running were probably the biggest quantum computing hackathon yet, with more than 600 participants from more than 80 countries that had their finals at the when was it? The Quantum World Congress in Washington, D.C. 1.5 months ago. Among others, I also just want to quickly highlight we had a collaboration with CERN earlier this year, which we've been very proud of. And I mean, feel free to explore them. You see, there's a Qiskit 4 Fest coming up. I think this should not be public yet, but it is. Oh, actually, I'm even signed in, so maybe that's why. Let me just sign out again to ensure, yeah, no, that this one is public, that I have the same view as you, basically. You can feel free to check out the Bradford Quantum Hackathon, which is still ongoing. It actually requires people to travel to Bradford, so I understand this might be a bit of a challenge, but still you can see how people are using it and working on the use cases. I think there was a call by, not a call, a webinar by EngineEye earlier this day from Raya. We are actually working with her, and maybe that's a good use case also to test, and the first one to potentially explore, which is on clinical trial optimization. Maybe she has been talking about that, but let me get back to that soon. So if you start, we basically have this H2 ground state energy calculation tutorial for everyone to understand how to work on Aqora, which I will show you soon. I think actually I still have to say there might be issues. I think the recent upgrade to Python, when I was just checking it, created some issues on my local machine. I think I need to sandbox it differently now. But yeah, what you can see if you access one of these use cases on Aqora, and this is basically also what this talk is about, mostly implicitly, is these kinds of leaderboards. So as I was saying, we were coming from in-person hackathons, building now this virtual platform for running these kind of competitions, basically meaning kind of real world use cases to which you can provide quantum computing solutions, which can either be automated, evaluated, or by a jury of experts, as we will see. And this way we understand, like, as humanity, what quantum computers are good for. I see there's a question or a comment. I will soon open it. But what I want to say, right, this basically, this kind of leaderboards is also, I mean, is inspired by a classical machine learning platform, which you might be aware of. It's called Kaggle, which was similar to ours 10 years ago. And let me just open the interesting. Okay. Where the idea is that these kind of leaderboards can help you really to build up a portfolio, because if you can show that you rank high on a leaderboard, probably means that you're that you're understanding what you're doing, right? It's like a evaluation of showing you can not only do research, but you can actually take a problem that is given to you and find a solution to it. Like I've come up. Okay, cool. Thank you, Luis. So yeah, whenever you make a submission, for instance, for this one, you will rank on the leaderboard. And actually, we also have this global leaderboard here. So you see Matt Kendall. I haven't met him, but I've once chatted with him. I think he also used to be in Berlin, where I'm living. Kind of, yeah, and you see there's Daniel Toner. I think I'm still ranking somehow 6 because it considers many things. But yeah, those of you who know Kaggle, which was very popular like 10 years ago and had a very good impact on the evolution of classical machine learning, this might look familiar to you. Yeah, Kaggle really addressed a similar problem as we're doing with this. That was back then there was not enough academic education in classical machine learning in order to, well, just educate all the workforce that was required. And actually, people who didn't have an academic education in machine learning explicitly could participate in these kind of challenges on Kaggle, put their ranks and wins on a CV, and through that, like, landed jobs even with big tech, Facebook or Google, because there was really a certificate kind of, right? And let's actually, as we talk about certificates, take a look at my profile. So I was mentioning Kaggle before. If you take a look at this one, it might look also familiar to you, as it kind of resembles a GitHub profile with this activity tracker. So you can earn or get some activities logged whenever you interact on the platform, making comments or making submissions, posting data sets. So all of this. We can give a small description, and also, and I think Braulio, we wanted to set this up even for this Fall Fest, you can earn these badges. Yeah, so meaning, well, when you make your first submission, you get this Quantum Pioneer one that we distribute, but also for the individual hackathons that we were hosting. For instance, I participated myself in this hackathon in Paris earlier last year, for which you can earn these badges. And similar to the rank on the leaderboard, this is a kind of verification that you can put on your CV, and then when you apply as a quantum application engineer or a similar role, it shows you some kind of certification by a third party that you know what you're doing, right? I mean, the participant, and at least it shows that you're actively exploring the field and or, I mean, engaging on these kind of activities. We also have this karma for the comments. But what did I want to say? Right, I will sign in soon. But yeah, the thing that I wanted to show you is, which I like one of the biggest traffic drivers for us is people Googling my name. And you see, yeah, really this portfolio aspect. You can rank on search engines also by providing a good portfolio here. And I think we had Delphi Q. How was that? Let me just Delphi. Yeah, I should have checked in. Yeah, so this was actually a nice, well, kind of coincidence. When I was in Washington on the booth next to me, I saw the name Delphi Q. I was wondering what they were doing, and actually found out, yeah, they were there because they were one of the winners of the Global Industry Challenge that I showed you before. So if also, I think what I want to say here is, if you're considering building some kind of quantum startup, it might be worth also joining Aqora and like building all of these um, um, our authority through this. Yeah, so that's really the idea. If you apply to, what I was saying, if you applied to machine learning jobs 10 years ago, you might have put some wins of your Kaggle challenges on your CV. Nowadays, if you applied to, as a classical software engineer, more interesting than, or I would argue, more interesting than the universities that you've been to is even your GitHub profile, which shows like your activities on private repositories, but especially also which kind of open source projects you're working on. Yeah. Right. And before I will, yeah, no, let me first go this one. So going back to these individual competitions, I would, as far as I'm aware, by now we are the biggest hub of quantum use cases, at least the biggest public hub of quantum use cases that we collected. I mean, you can argue some of these are maybe more tutorials and maybe not exactly a use case. But nevertheless, if you go to this tab on Aqora, aqora.io competitions, you see what different companies are exploring with us to like for what quantum computing can be good for. To just highlight a few, I mean, maybe getting back to the engine I won first. And this is the kind of competitions you can participate in. Sometimes there's prizes assigned. This one is also now part of this Bradford Hackathon, where there actually is a prize to win. But to focus on the specific content on this, you see that I myself was very surprised, and I'm very happy about this use case that Laia shared with us, or with the community on Aqora, is actually that it is a nice candidate for early quantum advantage. And you have, if you think about quantum computing, or if I think about quantum computing and drug discovery or the pharmacy industry, you think about this process of simulating molecules. But actually, much later in the stage, there's this clinical trial phase where you want to ensure that there's no bad side effects, and for which you have to solve a big optimization problem, actually, where you have the group that you give your medicine or the new drug, and then you have the control group, and you want to make sure there's not too much correlation among within each group, right? So basically, what Laya was figuring out is that if you solve these kind of optimization problems on their specific data sets, you ensure that you have as little correlation as possible. And then you see people actually make these submissions. And well, you see now as part of this Bradford hackathon, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, all within the last 2 weeks or 1.5 weeks even, who participate in this. Yeah? And on top of this, saying, so this is the current stage because we had this online before. You see we had the winner with a score of 0.995. And Laia, who was working on this use case before with her team, had a score of 0.978, which means that this really shows the power. So, I mean, not only for the community members to show that you can actually solve problems and translate your theoretical knowledge, but actually that true innovation can happen through this. Yeah? It's really outsourcing this kind of problems, and it's not said that individual labs would have the best people to solve each problem, but that instead it might be better to give it to the crowd, to the global crowd of quantum computing experts, and they would be able to solve these problems potentially much better. And that's really something that we as Aqora believe in. Again, we take inspiration from machine learning platforms like Hugging Face in this case, or maybe also Kaggle, where we think that well, even if Continuum will be the one to build the quantum machine, or INQ, IBM, Google, and so on, it might be someone else for having a specific problem, and yet someone else having being the one to actually just happen to find the best solution for this. Yeah, so we really think quantum computing will not be having its best impact if it's kept just for a small group of expert people, but if it is accessible by everyone, and everyone would be able to contribute to this. And to come back to this, talking about the innovation, so we saw last year the winner was 0.995, which was a like big result. Now we even have 0.996, which, well, I haven't checked the solution of Matt Kendall. It might be by chance. Um, it might also be just a bit of tweaking of the algorithm, or we see actually here how, and this would be extremely exciting, how the innovation improved these kind of possibilities over time. Yeah, as this technology progresses, and again, we have seen a lot of announcements just in the last 2 or 3 weeks. We will also see how we can address these specific use cases better and better by hardware innovation, but also by algorithmic innovation. And that's why we think this competitions hub or use case hub is really valuable for everyone, because it can be dropped on Aqora, and then this continuous innovation could happen, which wouldn't really be the case if like Engine I mean, in this case, it's also the solution provider, but if Engine I would have decided to solve this through a partnership with one specific identity or entity over, I don't know, a 6-month project, and then maybe would not revisit it. Yeah. So we think there's really a lot of things to win from this kind of setup. And let me highlight a few others. So I was mentioning the CERN challenge before. So if some of you have a background in particle physics, there were actually these two challenges, which I think are also extremely exciting. It's real data, I believe, from CERN, the particle accelerator in Geneva in Europe. And they are also exploring, because, well, actually, the data they collect is kind of, well, it's classical data from a quantum process, but they want to understand how quantum computers can help to analyze these kind of results and infer ever more information, and make predictions and understand the physics on the subnuclear, I think is the right word, level. So even if this hackathon is already over, I'll really encourage and invite everyone to check out also their use cases or any others, and rank on the leaderboard. So here you see there's a wide variety of scores from 3 different participants. And I think on the other it was even more participants. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 participants making submissions here. Now I want to show you one other class of competitions, basically. So we were talking about mostly we were seeing these leaderboards here. We don't see one right now, at least. And also the other thing mentioned is there was a very decent prize pool for this one. So we were running it earlier this year, the specific challenge. It was by EPRI, an institute from the US that also wants to give early exploration and explore what quantum computing can do for nuclear fusion. Something that, as I was myself digging a bit into it, is extremely exciting. I feel, because I mean I can see how potentially building at least stellarators, like one way of building these nuclear fusion devices, as I now know, is basically solving a big optimization, multi-constraint optimization problem. And sampling these kind of constellations that you have could be something that quantum computers might be good for. Yeah, we don't know yet, but it might be. And yeah, so what I want to say is they were actually not looking for solving a mathematical statement per se, but asking people to hand in, I would need to join the competition first, but they were asking people to hand in project proposals, yeah, which is also something that could be done, oops, through Aqora. And let me go back to it. There's some, now you see there's many more coming up. November is a very busy month for us with many challenges and competitions, but here we go. Yeah, so here it was about the submission where you could have kind of arbitrary files and were asked to provide your project proposal. Okay. Yeah, as I was saying, feel free everyone to explore them. Let's maybe give this one a very quick try. And I think I would need to change my way of screen sharing, because you only see my browser, if I'm not wrong. Just in a second. Let me actually not use this one, but this one, to show you how it works. And just I think if I switch this one, now you see my whole screen. Yeah, right. So if you are on a challenge on Aqora, I mean, if you decide you want to give it a try, which again, I would encourage you, because it helps you to build up some portfolio. And at least that was my intention for this webinar. As I understand, it's more students joining here, for whom it's always interesting, right, to build up this kind of well, authority, I would say. So if you decide, you can actually interact with our hub similar to how you would interact with GitHub. We have our command line interface, and then we provide the templating code here. So let me just clear this again. So I can go to my console where I can paste this in, Aqora template dynamics 25 minus 2. It's actually a tutorial, to say a few words, it's a tutorial from Alice and Bob. Alice and Bob, you might know, is also a quantum hardware provider from Paris. They are building these CAD qubits. So a bit of different way, I think, interpreting superconducting qubits, if I'm not wrong. And yeah, here they have their dynamics framework. So if I would now go into it, and please let me know if this is too fast or if it's not too easy to follow what I'm doing in the terminal. But basically what I was doing is going into this directory. And what I can do here is continue to use our CLI. So I could, for instance, say Aqora Lab. I have the Visual Studio Code extension of Aqora installed, and this will now open this project, where in the submission directory there's an initial submission. So this is what Alice and Bob's provides us. There's an objective. It's being described here what you have to do, and I could then check how this submission would currently score, because in the end this is automated scoring, and this will now translate this Jupyter notebook that we saw into a Python script, execute it, and put it into the framework where it's also being evaluated. Maybe let's take a look very quickly here. So we see at the end, we calculate some kind of output. It's a memory drive and a qubit drive. Well, I don't know the exact things, but we see there's a random number generation seed. So at the moment, we would get a score of 20.6. We take a look at the leaderboard. I think these two solutions are basically dead. Now maybe let's try changing the code. So instead of using 41 as the seed, because I think it will take some random numbers here. And if we would run a Aqora test now, let's see how this will have an effect. Yeah, so we see we even improved already from 20.6 to 20.8 just by using a different randomly initiated solution. And what I could do now, I won't do it, but I could run Aqora upload, which will then make my solution available on the leaderboard. So it's supposedly simple. I understand if it's maybe not, because you need to switch between our interface and the terminal and then your IDE. This is something that might change in the future, but as for now, this is the current workflow. But it also provides you with the flexibility to either work on, well, maybe Visual Studio Code or any other editor like Vim, Emacs, whatever you like. Yeah, and that's how you can then start filling your portfolio and proving your expertise. If you have any questions, there's always a discussion section. Also this, if you know GitHub, it's like the issue section there. Yeah, you can reach out. It's a bit like Reddit, and would then be able to have discussion with the providers or with other participants. I think if we go back to the clinical trial one, I think there was a bit of discussion. Yeah, so you see people had been discussing how to go about this one here. Right. So far, so good. Now I want to show you this next thing, which is, or maybe let me just pause here for a second and ask if there's any questions. Yeah, so trying to give a motivation for this kind of hub that we built, as much for everyone in the community to build up your portfolios, to show your expertise and collect these kind of profiles, and also for any company to explore quantum computing through such approach. Yanis, Aqora offers a bridge between learning and employment for students in Mexico and Latin America. How can participating in Aqora strategy help them stand out to global employers? Yes, that's a good question. I would say different things. I mean, if we get back to the profile section, I mean, you can see how active I am here. You can also find me on the leaderboard. Right now, you see I'm ranking 6th, well, with my other account 90th. I would say this is something where, I mean, you can really show your expertise, right? If you rank high here, and I mean, as Aqora is also continues to build our brand, it will really have a meaning. If, as I was saying before, people who had their Kaggle, to say Kaggle submissions could land jobs with big tech. I, for instance, know Abhishek Thakur, also might Thakur, I hope I spell him correctly, who used to be, yeah, he just started his job with Vespa. Let's start in here. Oh, what's happening? Oh, anyways, so you can still see him. See this, putting this, for instance, on his LinkedIn. And you see he has like many followers, 150,000 followers. And I think the first thing he says, Kaggle achievements, right? So it's really, in classical machine learning, Kaggle really has a meaning still today. He was one of the first employees of Hugging Face. Now he just started with Vespa 2 days ago. And yeah, I mean, you see, it's the first reference that he gets, that he gives, yeah, his Kaggle achievements, and they still have a meaning today in classical AI. It means you're good. So that's what we want to achieve with the Aqora profiles as well. Okay. Then maybe as the next step, so there is because for as we talk about hiring, this is one of the other kind of side offers that we have. Yeah, we saw it working early on in hackathons, in-person hackathons, that the amount of hires that were taking place afterwards was a good KPI for us. So we built up this quantum.jobs. So it's really on this standalone domain, HTTPS quantum.jobs, where at the moment we are mostly aggregating. So you see some of these come from aggregators, but different quantum computing jobs. You can see even you can filter for different roles, even in marketing. You see what kind of competitions are hiring for marketing roles. I can go here and then directly apply to these jobs, going to the websites. Yeah, it's a more classical job board, but I will show you soon. There is one twist to it that also makes this more interesting. But yeah, feel free to check for jobs here if you're looking for them. I guess I can even probably send remote, or maybe I cannot send remote, only remote jobs. So if we look for, well, let's just look at remote jobs, because I would at least assume that most of them are European based. Maybe we also have some, okay, we see India here. But yeah, at least there wouldn't be a job in Mexico right now. There probably are some in the US, but you can also look for the remote jobs here. And then there's this profile sections, and this is the other part that I wanted to show you. So you see here is all these profiles anonymized, at least to some degree, to you might recall him. And recruiters can actually reach out, I mean, on this other plans that they would need to subscribe to get access to your information. And what you can do is, if you go to your profile settings, you can choose this one, register your profile on the Quantum Jobs board. And if you would do that, and let's see, because I think it might just take a second. Well, I should, let me see again. Oh, there was something. Oh, this didn't work. Oh, is there something wrong, maybe? It seems to have worked 20 hours. Ah, okay. Just seems to take some time, probably with the API. Now I should be listed here. Yeah. You see, it's not that much anonymized if you put your role into the profile on Aqora. But now recruiters could reach out to you here. Yeah. So you see, they can explore. Well, I mean, now I don't know, what is it, 100 maybe profiles that have signed up in the past and reach out to you, which, well, I mean, you can mark yourself for hire also on LinkedIn, but here it's very quantum specific. Yeah. And as I'm happy with my current role, will just not mark myself as available. What are the key elements of a strong quantum portfolio that recruiters or companies actually look for? Oh, yeah, this is an extremely good question. So I would say, I mean, first, it depends certainly on the role. I mean, if you're, well, looking for a role in marketing or in engineering and so on, right? But really, what usually makes a difference, and um, I think, yeah, no, not exactly addressed by in this Q&A session before that I could still see a bit of. But if you take a look at these use cases, I would say interesting are not only the ones where you submit your code like these. I mean, these show, well, you probably have good math skills or quantum computing skills, right? Um, but if you consider this one, for instance, clinical trial, um, I would say the best solutions, and by which you will also, I think, stand out, and there might be other better examples in here, but is where you understand really the business impacts and how these, like, a bit more background information of it. You know? For instance, I don't know, we have evolutionary scale through networks. Okay, I don't know. Long triangulation. I think really what I want to say is when you not only bring this math perspective on the problem, but where you understand a bit of the bigger picture, because I think that's also how you will be able to bring the better solutions to this problem or others. And yeah, so I would say really diversity solving diversity of problems, and being able to understand this. I'm wondering myself how it would like this directly show in your portfolio, that at least you would have on Aqora, but I think you could, for instance, put it in your description. But I would say it's really the most interesting profiles are really the ones that actually first do these things, also in their spare time. Yeah, I mean, you should take enough care of yourself and time off. But doing these things in your spare time certainly shows that you have an interest, in a true interest in doing these things. And I think also it's a lot about your kind of communication. I was mentioning that in your profile, you also have this karma, and really don't hesitate to reach out to the organizers of these kind of competitions, ask the right questions, and at least they are also all public here, so you can see how people interact with you and you interact with them. And that's because in the end, I think what I want to say, you will never work in true isolation. Yeah, I guess you can in roles, but the best ones would probably be the ones that show they can work with others, and that they can understand bigger pictures and how to address it and make the right kind of trade-offs also. I saw there was another question. You spoke about the importance of diversity in AI teams. What are some effective ways to include voices from underrepresented regions or communities? Um, Include in which way? If you could specify, what are some effective ways? Oh, I will get to this next question first by Garcia. What are some effective ways to include voices from underrepresented countries? I would say, I mean, so as far as I understand this question, I mean, like we try to do our best and I mean have this global reach, and include everyone. If it's about, so on the one side, it's really about making things accessible. Accessible meaning different things. It could either be explaining it better, right? So it's better accessible, but it's also sometimes about like resources and what they would cost. So we will do our best to make also some quantum compute available on Aqora for the community, really. And otherwise, for instance, our Bradford hackathon, I think, is a good example, or well, not ours, but the one of Continuum, which also wants to emphasize or bring in people who don't have, especially quantum computing backgrounds. And what we see on our hackathons, which also have a specific structure, like I mean, our in-person hackathons that we were running before, the best teams are usually the ones that have mixed teams, like mixed expertise and like different perspectives on the problem. I think it's really a lot about which kind of how far you can zoom out and get the global, the bigger picture. I hope that was somehow answering your question, but happy if you refine it, trying to give a better answer. What has been the greatest challenge Aqora has faced so far, and what did the team learn from that experience, both technically and organizationally? Oh, yeah, I mean, I guess many challenges. The biggest, I'm wondering if there's a single biggest one. Um, I think, I mean, talking about that, I would even say if you think about Aqora, I mean, we have our ambition and vision and incentives to build this community hub and to really make quantum computing accessible and bring it to everyone. The one thing is, or the challenge with that is really, I mean, how do you do that? And we see that hackathons are a good way, because they create this kind of energy and atmosphere where everyone works together towards something, like works together and competes. That is good. But it also like very much event driven, which means there's often a lot of logistics to solve. Like with this Bradford hackathon, for instance, people have to come to Bradford for the finals. It's not a requirement that we have, but for the event to have the impact with all the different stakeholders that are involved, that is just a requirement that has become crystallized out. And this is, I mean, we are happy to support them and we will do our best, but it's certainly like a challenge, a very specific one. I'm not sure though if this is the kind of challenge would like to hear. And I think what I want to say here is still, if you think about these challenges and hackathons, because I think that's a bit of the underlying issue, is they are very much two-sided. Yeah, you can, and then solving the chicken egg problem initially wasn't too easy, but I think we managed to do that now by having these 50-ish use cases. But still, it's like if they are more event driven, there's like if people, I don't know, can't make it in that time frame or want to visit later, there might be a bit less of this a specific goal to it of ranking on the leaderboard to win a prize, for instance. And that's why we want to go more for this flat structure. I mean, we had this in mind early, but we see how it can solve some issues by now also providing data sets that I will show and algorithms where it's more like producer and consumer are the same. Here you have one kind of producer, which is the quantum expert, and the consumer is the company providing the challenge. But there's also, if you just think about algorithms, the one to produce it could also be the one to consume it. And I think that's a good learning how to think about the kind of atomic units on your platform. But I mean, challenges there are enough. As an early stage company, you're always facing some challenges. Yeah. I mean, besides, well, marketing and so on, we are more tech people, so how can we market it correctly? What's the current state of the technology? I mean, communicating the current state of the technology to every stakeholder and getting the expectation management right, I would say, is another one, where quantum has these big promises, and at the same time, the technology is early, and also even when it advances, there's still like we need to figure out how to make it the best useful, and so on. Okay, let me, because I think I have a few more minutes, just show you this one. So this is our latest addition to the hub. We released it, well, I think a month ago. There will come more, I would say, very nice improvements and iterations on this. But there's this datasets hub now, which is supposed to be a central repository for quantum computing related datasets. Among them, so we have uploaded a few ourselves. For instance, you might have seen the announcement of Google. What is it? Probably on October 22, 17 days ago, where they had their quantum echoes, verifiable quantum advantage. Actually, they have, this was based on a paper that they already published in June. And this is the underlying data of this paper, constructive inference at the edge of quantum ergodynamics. They had published the data on another platform, which is not very much for quantum computing, and we think also has some other flaws. So we actually made the data available, and you can now work with it from Aqora. You can use pollers or punders, which are best practice tools for working with data that you might know. If you're working with pollers, you can even download only partial data, so you can slice and dice the data before downloading. Well, this one is small, so you wouldn't need to download the full 3.32 megabytes, but you might also not care. If you take a look at MNISC, which is also a very nice reference data set, this would be 28 gigabytes, but you can choose to only, I don't know, download very specific parts of it and work with it and have them in a very reproducible manner. Yeah, that is very nice. Maybe a few more words about MNISC. Those of you who have a background or familiar with classical machine learning, there used to be, or still is, this very famous benchmark data set called MNIST with a T at the end, which first started with not Fashion MNIST, but is there MNIST 798, I think is the name. Let's see. I mean, this should be loading. Sometimes it might be faster or slower. Yes, MNIST 789, which is representing handwritten digits. And the authors of this paper have basically translated them into, or encoded them into quantum circuits. So here now you could download this data set and immediately put them in your circuit and then do a classification because they represent labels, right? So this would be a handwritten digit 3, for instance, and you could test your quantum machine learning algorithm on this and say how it performs. And by this, we have one benchmark data set that really enables comparability, apple to apple comparability, instead of I don't know, people using different subsets or even completely different data sets or different encodings of the same MNIST data set and so on. So this is really meant to make reproducible research and enable everyone also to kind of work together with the community again in a different way. I mean, you could think about, you could now take MNIST, maybe improve it in some way and reshare it, yeah? Similar as you would fork a repository in GitHub to fix some bugs and then release your own version or merge them back in. There's no Git integration here yet, but you will see there will be some nice additions that are coming out soon. And again, you also have a discussion section here, so you can directly reach out to the authors, all these kind of aspects to it. Yeah, you can filter for, I don't know, if you want to see some data sets for random circuits. Okay, this was the one from Google, or some for that are used for or good for quantum machine learning. Oh, okay, we see none of them is at the moment labeled this way as apparently, but that has Quasm was this one. But I think maybe I think it was then, anyways. I guess because of this, we would go, yeah, QML, we would now have these three MNISC. We see we also uploaded the subsets, but that would not really be necessary anymore because we can slice and dice before downloading. Yeah, similar to data sets, there will come algorithms that you can also easily execute then and share. So that's really supposed to make Aqora this kind of GitHub Hugging Face operating system, as you want to call it, for quantum computing. Maybe let me just conclude with this one. So this is also a bit of a side offer or a first try of this algorithm hub, you could say, where we have some hosted algorithms. So you can sign in here and let me see. I think I didn't do it with my personal account yet, but yeah, it's basically a remote execution of quantum computing algorithms. We have a few hosted. I think somewhere you can see the documentation. Should it be linked here? And I guess, yeah, well, this is not the best, but you see we can have, for instance, VQE or QAOA, and then you don't need to run it on your local machine. Also, you don't need to build the circuit from scratch, but you can basically run this job remotely by just giving some parameters to it. And then you would see these nice curves and everything hosted on Aqora and available to you for analysis. Yeah. Yeah, but with that, I would basically conclude. So let me see here. Yeah, as I was saying, with Aqora, we made this transition from a pure offline in-person hackathon, well, business model that was more for not for profit, to building this virtual platform that is similar to Kaggle, taking at least a lot of inspiration from classical machine learning platforms, keeping this community-first approach, enabling you to build your quantum portfolio, participating in these competitions. I really encourage you to just try them out and make your submissions, see how you rank on the leaderboard. If you face any issues, take me in the discussions, and then always happy to help. And then in the future, we will see more how it will be even kind of this GitHub for quantum computing, where you have data sets and algorithms that people share with each other, can build on top of each other. You might, for instance, be aware that Shaw's algorithm is a very popular algorithm 30 years ago discovered, but just like every once in a while, we figure a way, and we basically means Craig Gitney, researcher from Google, figures a way to reduce the resources required for it. So if someone would share Shaw's algorithm implementation on Aqora, someone could come and maybe squeeze out a bit more efficiency from that. And this way we can have this continuous innovation on quantum computing happening that we believe is necessary and only possible in an open source manner with the community. That being said, thank you, and happy to take more of your questions.
Thanks to you, Janice. And of course, we have a few questions more ready for you. So, if you agree, we can go on with some of them. How does Aquara's platform ensure that students' contributions are visible and valued by companies and institutions worldwide?
Yeah, it's a good question. Visibility, I'm happy to also take feedback if that's not always like if you see if any one of you ever sees ways on how we can improve stuff. So I would say at the moment, I mean, I was sharing this where if you were looking up Delphi Q, which is not really an entity yet, but at least they have a way to create a profile that is somehow associated with quantum computing, where you can, I think I can do it at least because I'm signed in. I could now directly explore their solutions they submitted. We will find a way to make them open source also, so that anyone could go here. And I would say that's a first way. On our competitions, datasets, events, I think it's also a lot about explorability. Competitions and events will see more flexibility. At the moment, it's just this growing list that we started, and then it started growing. With the data sets, you see we have already this kind of training things, but I would say if you're like a small startup, for instance, you could like gain credibility by providing a strong reference data set and get the likes that will make it a trending one. So I think there is these ways by providing, I mean, yeah, high quality content, and we will make sure that it will be ever more discoverable and values what is necessary. Again, maybe taking a reference at Hugging Face, you might have seen, let me go here, Hugging Face.com. You might have seen the recent news that there is a new open source model in town, Kimi K2 Thinking from, well, it was updated 8 hours ago, but I think it was shared 2 days ago. And it's like better than OpenAI's GPT-5 on many benchmarks, I think, which they share here. And you see this is really the in continuous kind of well, leaderboard updates that you see on Hugging Face, which we want to have on Aqora as well. And yeah, it's a good chance for anyone to get visibility and show expertise really in this kind of open source manners.
Great. First, could you share an example of someone who started with no background in quantum computing and through Aqora built a path toward a real job or collaboration opportunity?
Yes, absolutely. Actually, we have a very nice story, I find. So we have this one participant. He participated. I think the first one he participated in was the Engine I one. If we go into stage one, it's actually Oleksiy, who here won the third place. You see him on fourth, but we had this issue with the time zones and had this shared third place. But he is someone from Ukraine, as you can see. He joined this as a first hackathon and was very good. I think he was just starting his master's in computer science and quantum computing. And he actually then later was also making contributions to others, like the where do we have it? It was on, and you see we certainly need the search functionality for the competitions by now. But this is if you start a startup, I mean, you prioritize, and at first you're happy when you have some competitions. Let me see if I can, let's see. But why would I only find one? Malicious. Yeah, malicious login detection. So here he was actually, you see the score of 0.993. It was as good as Peter, who's also a good user of ours, who just started his PhD in quantum computing, and he was in, I think it was Oxford, where he was from. So you see, I mean, he certainly was able to compete on good level. And then let me show you this one, going back to then Oleksiy, and I see I get some requests probably from you, I think, which is nice. And you see, so he has a featured post just like 2 months ago, maybe, looking for opportunities and about me. He has a master in this. And the second thing he says, he is the winner of quantum competitions on Aqora. So I think it's like, for me, he is an amazing example of someone who was early on in quantum computing, eager and brave enough to start competing, and could actually by this build his kind of portfolio and advertise it now. And I hope he has found a good job. But you see, I mean, I could only vouch for him because it was very amazing story for me to see him explaining and saying, like, being a bit shy in his, because we usually also have like webinars at the end of the competitions that you can check out, and he was a bit shy of saying, oh, I just started. But I mean, he was doing great submissions, right? And I think he could learn also a lot by participating in them. I would say he's a great example of this.
Thank you for sharing. So, following, Aqora emphasizes reproducibility and open collaboration. why is that so important for the quantum field right now?
Oh, yeah, I think quantum is there is one of these fields where it's especially important. I would say, well, I don't want to give maybe concrete examples and names, but I guess if you look on LinkedIn for quantum advantage, you will find many claims, but it's not always easy to uh, prove or disprove them, even though they might not be that honest, but be good for the marketing of that company. So I think it's the only way really to understand where the field is and also to make innovation happening. Yeah, as I was saying, Shor's algorithm, if it was not public, but Peter Shor would have just said, well, one day I will break all your encryption and steal all your credit card information. Well, and not saying us how. First, we might not have believed him, right? I mean, because it's really about understanding also what it can do. But second, no one would have been able to improve on these results. And I don't think, I mean, maybe he would be because he's certainly a super smart person. But someone like Craig Gidney would not have had the chance to maybe bring a different perspective and improve it. So I think it's really accelerator for the field, and also necessary to keep each other accountable while this technology is still evolving and understanding which claims it can really make.
Great. Okay. What inspired you to create Aqora, and what challenges in the quantum ecosystem were you trying to solve?
Yeah. Um, well, what inspired us, me? So, I mean, for me, myself, for me, it's the second company that I co-founded. I once paused my studies back then, like 10 years ago, to found another company. Back then, it was for me because like I was about to finish my master's, and I was until that point in life extremely sure I want to do a PhD and follow the academic career. But somehow, I mean, I could do a bit of research and so on, and somehow I didn't feel it as much as I thought I would. And then I was just by chance trying it in a way, and it was very exciting to me. And afterwards, I was saying myself, well, I would not force it, but if there comes the right opportunity, I would want to do it again. And then, well, it really happened 2 years ago. I was with Binance back then, the crypto exchange. And my co-founders reached out who were organizing these in-person hackathons. We knew each other because I was on the side president of Push Quantum, a students' initiative from Munich. So I was excited about the technology. And actually, I was every once in a while preparing an application to one of these quantum computing companies like Cambridge Quantum Computing back then or Entropica Labs from Singapore, but never really sent them. Had discussions with PsiQuantum, and yeah, somehow it was never the real where I felt okay, this is really the next good step for me. But when they approached me, I was really down for it, and I mean maybe that sounds not too inspirational from my side, but I really like this idea of this community first approaches. I think that's really the only way. And for me, it's also like, I mean, why I'm who I am and how I do things and see things. I really believe in technology as like the thing to solve problems. And well, we all see and know how it can also create problems. But I would really like to be part of this enabling phase or enabling. And I think this is with Aqora, I see myself having one of the best leverages, where it's really not me sitting on a specific problem, but enabling others to solve even more problems. So yeah, for me, that's really Aqora is just a really good match, I think, of my interests and what and how I would see the field moving forward. So I'm very happy about this opportunity.
Great. What kind of mindset do you think Latin American students should cultivate to succeed in global quantum challenges?
Mm, the mindset. Um, It's a good question. I mean, I would say, I mean, I guess I give a maybe more generic answer to this because at least I'm not too familiar with Latin America. I think no, I've never been to Latin America, so I wouldn't know like which kind of specific shifts would be necessary. But in general, I think probably I gave many traces, or I should have been giving many traces in my talk, which is, yeah, I mean, follow your passion, I mean, or like understand your motivation, and also maybe how you could motivate or like get the right outlook, and then I think many things become easier, and you will want to do them and solve them and can do great things. I think this was actually, and the next advice was something that was given as a reply in the Q&A before. It's like about this working with each other, networking. I would say don't be shy. Really reach out to others. I mean, for instance, if I trace my position back to our core, from our core, to our core backwards, it was, as I was saying, I was president of Push Quantum, through which I participated in the hackathon in Paris. And I mean, on the one side, this was something I would not have needed to do, right? But I was eager to do it. I was eager to spend my weekend, or it was maybe even the beginning of the week, and I took holidays for that, and well, paid for my travel and so on. But I was doing what I wanted to do, and even like joining Push Quantum is similar. It was just a announcement on LinkedIn that I saw, which was I was back then finishing my master thesis in quantum computing. I was doing entrepreneurship before, and there was a new lecture series, Quantum Entrepreneurship Laboratory at the TU Munich. And I just applied. So I would say just try things if they excite you. Uh, don't be shy. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. And even if you would fail, I mean, then you for sure learn something from it. And that's what I would say. Yeah, I guess if you, I think the first answer I gave is like you probably need to have this kind of passion, or what should understand where your passion is. Ideally, it is somehow in quantum computing, but it doesn't need to be. And then, yeah, don't be shy, reach out, take initiatives. The internet is a big place, and I think it gives a lot of power. And like communities like Aqora, I hope can provide you with this power, where you can connect with others, and I mean, really ask for things. Even if you think you have a good algorithm, don't hesitate to reach out to, I don't know, what do you think is the best hardware to run it on? Quantinum, IonQ, Pascal, whatever. Reach out to them, ask for hardware access. Maybe they're happy to give it to you, or maybe they're happy to have an interview with you, just because you show these kind of self-initiative, which is very valuable and makes you stand out in a way. Yeah. So it's really, I would say, like, be brave, but this brave not in a, I mean, do things. Yeah. Take chances, try them, and don't be afraid of failure.
Thank you, Janis. That was a great advice, honestly. And yeah, continuing, yet we have another question from Abigail. She's asking, could Aqora include mentorship or company feedback in the future to help students strengthen their quantum portfolios?
Yeah, I mean, as I was saying before, reach out and really please feel free to send me an email. It's Janis@Aqora.io, and I mean, always happy if I find the time. Sometimes I might not have as much time, but I try my best to answer to all the emails that I receive. So yeah, I mean, for sure. I actually we do that. Yeah, really feel free to reach out to us. We have some partnerships with students initiatives where we offer this also in our partnership agreements.
Great. Okay, and finally, what message would you like to share with Mexican students and professionals looking to make their mark in the quantum industry?
Oh, which message? I think what I said before, yeah, really don't be shy, try things, and don't be afraid of failure. And I think that's really the only ways to move this forward.
Okay, Janis. So thank you very much for your words, for your presentation. I think we had a great moment with you.
Thank you very much. No, this has been great for me as well. Thank you for these questions. I see Philip will be next. He will be in good hands. We know each other from other similar collaborations. And then, yeah, have a great day. Reach out to me. I mean, find me on LinkedIn, and happy to have any kind of discussions.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Thank you.